One. What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Sunday Talk. This week, unfortunately, Jose and Carson will be out of town, out of service, so we got Chase filling in for today's episode. Chase, how we doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Liam?
I'm doing just fine. So for today, this Sunday Talk, I got a bunch of topics here today that I'm going to talk about. A lot of pressing topics in sports today, but first, I'll ask you, Chase, what's your thought on the Euro Cup so far? I'm not a huge soccer guy. I mean, I think the big thing that everyone saw was, Denmark's star went down in cardiac arrest, one of the best players in the world, then was able to get resurrected, of course. But what's your thoughts on this the tournament in all of its entirety so far?
Um, so far, I mean, it's going how it should on paper. There haven't really been many upsets. England, it was one of the favorites. They played today. They won 1-0. It was a good game, not their best, but that's to be expected for the start of the tournament. You want to get better as you go on. We still haven't seen, the favorites in France or Portugal. We haven't seen them play. They play tomorrow, so I'm excited to see what's to come of this tournament. It's one of my favorites because it is a World Cup style. I love those type of tournaments. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited how this plays out. So yeah, I mean, and going on the Denmark, Denmark they were a sleeper team this tournament. A lot of people weren't expecting them to go far, but on paper their team, doesn't jump out at you, but their playing is very good. They know what they're doing, and Christian Eriksen was the guy who kind of glued them all together. He was the guy to, carry them kind of necessarily, and then, show up in big games. And, it's sad at what happened. I don't know if you've seen the video, but it was very scary. I mean, looked like he was dead. Yeah, he looked like he was dead there for, a minute or two. He had to be brought back through CPR.
That's
but
crazy.
he is doing well in the hospital right now, and he's undergoing further tests. So that's good.
So we'll move on to some brighter notes. So in recency, we've seen the Utah Jazz be a team that's been dominating the NBA playoffs. They were able to beat the Memphis Grizzlies in a 4-1 gentleman's sweep. And now they have a 3-0 lead. They just lost the last game 4, making it 3-1, heading back to Utah, presumably a closeout game on their home turf. But Stephen A. Smith made arguably one of the biggest takes he's ever made, and arguably maybe one of the worst takes. But I think we got to talk about at least the subject of this. So on ESPN, he made the take that Donovan Mitchell is already the best star in Utah Jazz history, which is blasphemy when you think that John Stockton's a top 8 point guard of all time, and Karl Malone is probably a top 8 power forward of all time. So I think he's got to talk about today. I mean, I think we all can agree it's a terrible take. I think he's still got a lot of work to do, but I think we got to talk about his greatness and how good of a player he's been. Just kind of taking a look at the stats that he's had in this series against the Lakers. Oh, sorry, no, it was 2-1. Never
It was
mind.
2-1. Yeah,
I thought it was 3-1 because I know the Suns are playing tonight. The
Suns
winner.
are up 3-0. Yeah.
So no, it's a 2-1. But no, Donovan Mitchell has been absolutely crazy this series, averaging 37.3 points, shooting 50 from the field, 48.5 from 3, and 65.8 from free throw line. Stephen A. did also say that he can be the best guy on a championship team. And what do you think about that, Chase?
Yeah, I mean, just from what I've seen, he is unbelievable this series and in these playoffs. I mean, there was a stretch I watched. What was it? Last night they played.
Yes.
Yeah. So there was a stretch where he scored like 10 straight points or something like crazy. I think it was his big second quarter. He had like 16 or 20 in that second quarter. But he went on a roll, and it was like no matter who you put on him, because I think Kawhi was guarding him at one point, trying to put the fire out. But then he still got by Kawhi, and you're like, who can guard this guy?
Mm-hmm.
If Kawhi, one of the best, defenders in the league, can't guard him, who's going to guard him? Like, what do you put on him? And yeah, he's just been crazy. I mean, every time he goes down on the offensive court or on the offensive side, you think he's either going to score, do a huge dunk, or assist. I mean, it's honestly crazy. He's carrying this team like Luka is the Mavs, but a little better because he has a better supporting cast. And I
Well,
think that
okay.
makes him better.
I gotta say here. So I think a player that I always got to throw in the discussion with him is Devin Booker. Both guys were picked 13th in their draft. Both guys more than likely are going to end up playing each other, in the Western Conference Finals for both of those teams' first shots to win an NBA championship. Who do you think is a better player at this point in their career?
Ooh, that's tough. Oh, right now they're well, they're like two different style of players. Donovan Mitchell has the ball in his hands at all time. Devin Booker doesn't need the ball. He's more, he can create off the ball a little better than Donovan Mitchell can.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, the way I look at it is, if you swap Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell on their team, would their team be where they are right now? And
Yeah.
I think if you look at it, like, if Donovan Mitchell was on the Suns, I think they'd be even better. Hot take.
Oh, I agree. I mean, both players have kind of gone away. They've almost kind of switched their roles because Devin Booker has been known as a three-point shooter in his career. That's kind of what he started off as. Now he's more of a driver, whereas Donovan Mitchell, is beginning to become more of a shooter. And then neither are really great defenders. The take saying that Donovan Mitchell's a good defender isn't really true yet. I mean, his defensive box plus minus is still in the negatives, and Devin Booker's in the negatives, but it's far more negative than his. But I mean, even a little bit of a more impressive defensive abilities from Donovan Mitchell putting on that Suns team. So I guess you could say, but I think at the same time, these guys are going to be the top two shooting guards going in for these next couple of years. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing what we're seeing from them. We'll see, can they close out the Clippers? We'll have to see about that. But now, obviously, with these playoffs coming close, with the conference finals coming up soon, and knowing that Kyrie Irving is now questionable for next game, uh, who do you think is your playoff prediction at this point? I'm still going to stick with the Utah Jazz. That's who I picked to begin with. Who would you have to say is your pick?
I'm gonna go with the sleeper team. I'm gonna go with the Sixers. If you look at their team, they don't have, they have Embiid, they have Simmons, but they don't, people don't really know, like, Tobias Harris, who has been almost on an all-star level this whole year.
Has been.
Has been. Should have been an all-star. He's been absolutely crazy for them. Danny Green making shots, Seth Curry too.
Another great shooter, Shake Milton.
Yeah, like I said, you can't have enough shooting. And then I think their team complements so well with Ben Simmons and all the shooting around him. And then you add guys like Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris. I think they're, too big, kind of. They have defense for just about anyone. Like Matisse Thybulle, great defender. He can, lock up people. And then, just like I said, the shooting. And yeah, I feel like no one's picking them because everyone wanted to see the Nets come out of the East. But now with Kyrie hurt and Harden hurt, right? Harden's hurt, right?
Yes, Harden has been hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. Now with Harden hurt, I don't see, if it stays like that, I don't see the Nets coming out of that series now that they just tied it 2-2. So I'm gonna go with the Sixers.
Well, you can't go wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on, switching gears here a little bit to the NFL. Obviously, very far away. People, like myself, doing mock drafts and fantasy and stuff like that. But overall, it's going to be a great season, I think. There's a lot of teams that are going underrated at this point. A lot of teams getting overrated at this point. But I think there's a lot of contenders that just could come out of nowhere and surprise. And also people that can come out of nowhere and surprise are people that can win the most valuable player award. Obviously, defensive players don't really ever win it. Who knows? Aaron Donald's more likely to ever win it if anyone's going to at this point. But if you could pick today, if you were to put, $10, someone gave you $10 for free, go put a money line dark horse MVP candidate bet for NFL next year. Who are you picking?
Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill. He has he has the best running back in the game, and to complement that, he just got one of the best receivers in the game in Julio Jones, and he already has AJ Brown. I'm excited for this team. He has one of the best offensive lines too. And if you look at the numbers, I saw this TikTok and it was going back and it said since Ryan Tannehill took over for Mariota, his stats have been as good or better than Mahomes in that period.
It's crazy.
He's such a sleeper pick for anyone. He's a very good quarterback, and I don't think he gets the recognition, but I feel like with Julio, he'll finally get that recognition. And yeah, I'm excited to see what the Titans do.
All right.
What's yours?
I got one that's been kind of popular recently. I'm going to take the 5'10", former top 10 baseball pick. I'm taking Kyler Murray this year. I think he's getting a really dark horse because they're saying they're the worst team in that division. That's what they're saying. But you got to realize, when the win MVP, it's not just about your individual performance. You got to have a team performance, and especially with them, he's got to be able to make the playoffs. And now with more improvements, they brought in J.J. Watt. They got Chandler Jones coming back from injury. I think it's going to be a great team. I think A.J. Green provides some great veteran presence. They got Rondell Moore in the draft. This guy has all the tools to succeed this year. And I'm thinking a huge breakout year, sort of Lamar-esque. This man had a breakout year last year, going for 26 touchdowns and 12 interceptions through the air, but he's still being a dual threat on the ground. I think if he goes out there, they win at least 9-10 games, and he just has a phenomenal season. I could see him winning the MVP, and I would not be surprised.
Mm-hmm. He just has to be consistent.
Oh, yeah, 100% consistent.
Because I mean, what was it? Who had him? Did Carson have him last year in fantasy?
I think so, yeah. Because you can see in fantasy, even though that's not an indicator, he just fell off kind of after that Hail Murray game. They kind of were the same.
It was I think I played him the first 3 or 4 weeks, and that was when Kyler was just everyone was expecting him to be MVP. I mean, by those numbers.
Oh yes,
he was insane, and then he kind of fell off after that. After I played him, which always works out in fantasy.
Oh yeah, I mean, the even end of season going against Philadelphia. I mean, it was kind of a joke show of a game. It was Jalen Hurts' kind of coming out game. 406 yards. How many touchdowns? Oh, is the touchdowns not showing up? No, but 406 yards. I believe he had 4 touchdowns. Just a crazy game from him, and then still going out there. I mean, the Rams game kind of ruined it for him because he got injured during that game, and they had their backup come in and play, and they didn't really get a chance to go for the playoffs. I mean, the Rams rightfully deserved it in the end. But yeah, he was on fire at the beginning of the year. Had that Lamar Jackson breakout kind of vibe. Then began to slow it down a little bit. But he's a much better thrower than Lamar is. He's always been that. So I think he's really a great dual threat. I think if he goes for 8, and you guys know we have him more season now. We have one more game, so his stats going to look even more crazy if he goes out there. He gets 800 yards rushing, 4,000 passing. Gets 30 plus touchdowns. I think we could see a great season from him.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. They did lose Larry Legend, or he hasn't signed. He's still unretired, right?
Yes, he hasn't retired yet.
Yeah, but they lost him. I'm sad to see him go, but they did add, like you said, a bunch of pieces around him. Rondell Moore, one of my favorite wide receivers coming out of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Dude is explosive
and fast as can be.
Everything. Yeah. Oh, he's everything Andy Isabella isn't.
Exactly. But no, we'll move on to my next topic. So a thing that they're supposed to be talking about in the next coming weeks, I believe, is the thoughts on the college football expansion. I believe it would be a 12-team format with the top 4 teams getting to bye. Then they would play the winners of that. and then it moves on to two. I mean, it moves on to four and then back to two. So a lot more games, a lot more revenue for the college football playoffs, which honestly makes sense in the end. It's a business.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows that. But what is your thought on now this is probably gonna give a chance for non-power five teams like a Cincinnati to make the playoffs. What's your opinion on this for college football?
Personally, I love it. I mean, I love seeing the underdogs come through, and I sent in a couple questions, throughout the past Sunday talks about, not Power Five schools, but schools like under the radar, like Northwestern last year was one of my favorite teams, just because you don't think of Northwestern as a football powerhouse, even though they sent two guys to the NFL, I think.
Newsom and Slater in the first round.
Slater was in the first round,
Chargers,
yeah.
yeah, 13th or something.
Who's Morig was TCU. That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it. As a fan, I want to see more games, and what better way to do that than a 12-team playoff? But then again, you have to look out for the students' and the athletes' safety. How much are those extra games gonna put toll on their body, and will they have to travel? Like,
Probably. I mean, I wonder if there's home field advantage for first games until they go to the neutral sites for the top four. I mean, that'd just be crazy. Imagine, a team like LSU, like they get a top four seed and then they got to come to Death Valley and play.
Dude,
I mean,
the stadiums would be like just
it would bring in
the
so much
atmosphere
money.
would be so crazy.
And if you're a fan or you go to one of those schools, you would not want to miss that.
Exactly. Yeah. But then what's the counter argument to it? Just like leave it how it is, or
that's how it's been like for the last couple. I mean, but see, college football players haven't been there forever.
Yeah.
And I feel like it really kind of screws some teams over. Like Texas A&M was one that everyone thought should have been the fourth seed this year. Obviously, Ohio State played like 7 games. I mean, honestly, they proved their worth. Justin Fields went out there, put on a historic performance against his all-time rival in Trevor Lawrence. But I mean, I think people just don't want to see it because they're like, it's like a Bama fan. It's like, oh, well, you just want to try and come beat us because, that means they have to play X amount of more games. But, with a bye week, you should be able to, go out there and play. And then I think one thing you might have to worry about is if, players don't want to play if they're going to be going to the NFL. Like you see in bowl games all the time, players sit it out. And then, they're great players in college and, going to be good prospects in the NFL. And then they just don't play and they just kind of ruin your team's chances. We really don't see that with teams, in the top 4. So is that going to stop it when teams, have this tournament that they're going to play their stars more or that their stars are more willing to play? Because it's really within their decision.
We don't know yet. That's the thing. I think it was last year, Florida, like their top 5 wide receivers didn't play.
Oh, in the bowl game?
In the bowl game, and Kyle Trask was literally left for dead.
Oh, yeah.
He had no one to throw to. And I was like, man, if I'm Kyle Trask right there, I'm livid.
Yeah, just lighten up your teammates because, you really aren't coming out there and playing. Coming from Miami fan, we didn't play our top 2. We didn't play our top 2 edge rushers, Quincy Roche, who ended up going, I believe, in the 6th round to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Jalen Phillips, who went in the 1st round to the Dolphins. But those guys were so instrumental in our success of our team, and we just got butt whipped by Oklahoma State, who had no chance playing them. But, like you said, you don't see it with Bama. Bama always has their guys playing. They want to get that national championship. If you have 12 players, if you have 12 teams out there, you're going to bring in a lot more teams, and those guys aren't going to want to rest, I feel, because they can go out there and they can win that elusive chip and, end it off their college careers on a high note.
Right, and even from the athlete's perspective, if I'm, outside of the top 4 and I'm in, maybe, just outside of the top 4 and I haven't, we haven't had the greatest season, but we also haven't had the worst and we get in, I'm playing because, hey, if I ball out, I'm NFL shot maybe.
It's a showcase on the biggest stage. Better than it's going to be better than a bowl game. It's not going to be like some random Cheez-It bowl game. It's going to be like everyone's watching. Like these guys are going to go on to play Bama, or they're going to play Clemson. They're going to play Ohio State. They're going to play Georgia, whoever that, Oklahoma, whoever those teams are in the top 4 next year.
Yeah, I mean it's a great showcase for all the teams or for all the players too. And like they'll have more big time games to watch than like just a one-off bowl game.
Oh,
Like
100%.
because if you think, NFL games, you can't. I mean, you can compare them to college football, but like there's like just this like atmosphere around NFL games that like you have to perform or else you're gonna get cut. Whereas like if you're in college, you can have a couple off games, but as long as you're okay, you'll play. But yeah, I don't know. And I think the NCAA is doing this because, of COVID, lost a
Oh,
lot of money,
redemption. Yeah.
lost a lot of money. So they're just trying to make some of that back with this.
Mm-hmm. All right, but so ending this episode off, the game has not started yet. That'll be happening tonight on TNT. We got the Suns with their first chance not making the playoffs last year after an 8-0 run in the bubble. They got a chance to make the Western Conference Finals tonight, going up against the MVP. Currently, the line sits at -3, with the Suns favored -145 and the Nuggets plus 125. Chase, I want to know your prediction here. We'll be posting this right next in a couple of minutes. So, what is your prediction for the game tonight?
Sun's gonna sweep.
Okay.
I feel, that when you're down 3-0, there's not much hope to look for. I mean, then again, the Nuggets might go out just balls blazing and, just set it on fire because they have nothing to lose. But I just think the Suns are too good. They have more depth, more, quality players than them. I feel like they're just going to get it done tonight.
All right. I mean, I don't think that -3 line, it's too appeasing. I think it's going to be a Suns victory, but I think it's coming down to the wire. I think you got to put the ball in one of their top guys' hands. It's going to be Booker. It's going to be Paul in isolation, and that's going to be the guy to determine the series. So I think either they miss that last shot or they make the last shot, but I think it's coming down to the wire tonight out there in Denver at the Pepsi Center. So
yeah, if they don't get it done tonight, they'll get it done in the next game.
They'll win. Denver just kind of, they need Jamal Murray out there. They don't have a playmaker that can do it. Like, I love Michael Porter Jr. He's one of my top favorite players in the NBA right now, but he just can't create enough shots to, make up for not having Jamal Murray out there. Austin Rivers, you can't do it, buddy. I mean,
he's
doing good though.
Yeah.
He's doing good. But we'll leave it at that. We got our predictions tonight. Chase, he's taking the Suns. I'm taking either, kind of a 1 or 2 point margin going either way. I think it's going to be the final shot. So we'll leave it as that. We'll let you guys enjoy off your Sunday. Aussie, thank you, Chase, for coming on to the show. I've been left empty-handed this week, so we'll be getting some more content coming out for you guys. But without further ado, this is Coast to Coast Podcast. We are signing out. Peace.